You want me to put that on my Tudor?
Spot the difference. As part of enabling you to understand about narcissism, it's also important to understand the other classifications of individuals that I utilize. For instance, when it comes to a base classification of what somebody is, I divide people up into 4 groups. Normal people, the largest group on the planet. Empaths, yes, they do exist. Narcissistic people who are not narcissists, and narcissists. All of those groups have some similarities, and they have considerable differences also. By understanding what group a person belongs to, helps you make sense of your dealings with somebody within that group. It enables you to understand why they have done what they have done, why they said what they said, why they interact with you in the way that they do. And in problematic situations, it affords you different options that are available to navigate your way through. Therefore, when you're dealing with an individual, it's always important to establish what they are. You have to take into account, is their behaviour being driven by the situation, or is their behaviour being driven by what they are? And thus, it becomes so important for that to be determined. I then, through rigorous contemplation and analysis of the behaviour of individuals, place them within a classification. And, with regard to Harry's wife, as you know, she's a narcissist. With regard to Catherine, Princess of Wales, she's an empath. And therefore, they breathe the same air. They eat food, they go to the bathroom, they will laugh, they will watch television. But the drivers behind their behaviour are completely different. For Catherine, she's motivated by emotional empathy. This guides her behaviour like an invisible force. There will be occasions where she may think about what she's doing and whether it's the right thing to do. But for the most part, she acts instinctively, being courteous, acting with humility, that she is polite to people, that she lets them speak, that she doesn't interrupt them, that she doesn't talk over people, that she doesn't walk in front of them, that she doesn't make things all about her. It's not to say that she's a saint. She, of course, can engage in behaviours which are problematic, and undoubtedly has done in her life, as a consequence of external stresses affecting the way that she functions and behaves. But this emotional empathy wraps around her and guides her behaviour, and it is demonstrated in the way that she conducts herself with other people. When it comes to Harry's wife, she doesn't have any emotional empathy, and instead she has cognitive empathy, a learned way of behaving with other people to make it look like she cares and has compassion. She, although she's unaware of this, is driven by her narcissism, which causes her to think in a particular way and feel in a particular way in order to pursue the prime aims. Thus, it guides her down a particular route so that she establishes those prime aims whenever she's dealing with other people. It's often very useful to compare and contrast the behaviour of Catherine with that of Harry's wife. Not so long ago, Harry's wife went to Dusseldorf, and she made the games there all about her. Turning up at the event late, so that she could make an announcement and then make us look like an apparently good mother by talking about, I wanted to stay a bit longer and look after the children and give them milkshakes. Ensuring that she wandered around in various different types of clothing that she could then be merched, some of which would be deemed entirely unsuitable for the event that she was necessarily attending. Making her presence known in the crowd, for instance, running over to a gaggle of Sussex squad to have a photo opportunity with them. Her behaviour in the crowd, where she claps out of time and tries to talk to people, but they ignore her. And, of course, possibly the worst gaffe that was made was where she was marching with the veterans and service people, stealing their thunder, almost in an act of what many people have described a form of stolen valour. It was a disgraceful, piece of behaviour by her. Not that she cares. She fully believes that she was entitled to do it because it meant that she was seen, that she was at the front, that she was recorded, and therefore the world talked about it. But compare that with the way that Catherine behaves at events. Dressed appropriately, for instance, when it was the Stephen Lawrence memorial service, you all recall the look on Theresa May's face when she saw Harry's wife was sat next to her, showing off her shoulders and not particularly wearing something appropriate as a memorial to a young man who was viciously murdered by a group of thugs. Whereas you wouldn't find Catherine making such a mistake. This isn't to place Catherine upon a pedestal, but it is rather to enable you to understand the differences in their behaviour. Understand this also. There would be certain narcissists who would be just as polished as Catherine, making the right clothing choices, behaving respectfully, but that's because their more evolved form of narcissism enables them to fit in far more effectively, making them harder to spot. Their facade is excellent, far more polished and effective than that of Harry's wife. Harry's wife makes repeated mistakes which cause gaps in her facade to appear, and it can be seen where it's straining. Thus, there are certain narcissists that would behave in a way which is just as effective, just as seemingly kind and caring and compassionate as Catherine, making the right noises, making the right sounds, doing the right things, but all driven by their narcissism. Harry's wife isn't able to do that because her form of narcissism hasn't reached that level. And thus, it enables you to spot the difference between the two ladies in terms of how they present, and you know the differences are caused by the fact that one's an empath and the other is a narcissist. An example of this, I'm now going to show you in a short piece of footage which is taken from Catherine's recent attendance at some wheelchair rugby. It's put out by Kensington Palace, so it is a PR puff piece. They use them just as Harry's wife does. But you'll notice the complete difference. In it, Catherine is not the centrepiece. Sure, she gets seen numerous times, but so do many other people. But watch the footage and let me know in the comments the differences that you see with regard to Catherine's behaviour compared to that of Harry's wife.
The Centre of Excellence here at Hull FC is the home to every single team in our pathway. We're really proud of the fact that Hull and the Hull FC Community Foundation has become a central part of our community. Inclusivity and participation is one of the real shining lights of our sport of rugby league. I like to think we're a beacon for that across the professional sport in this country. And we don't just boast the first team, we actually have 13 teams playing wheelchair, PDRL, LDRL you can see today, women's, girls, and they all exist in a pathway. We believe in allowing people to strive and have opportunities that perhaps they wouldn't normally have had previously. So being based here at the university, for example, we're also able to raise academic attainment as much as we are performance on the field too. So we're giving people opportunities that wouldn't normally have been there, and the fact that we can now boast 13 teams across all various disciplines, some of which have gone on to have great success, winning promotions, winning championships, that's something we're incredibly proud of.
There's the footage, and you will have immediately been struck by the difference. Catherine interacts with people. Part of it shows other people. There's somebody else talking, not her. Although this is put out by Kensington Palace, it wasn't deemed appropriate or necessary for her to be saying something, but rather the person who was actually running the event. They're more knowledgeable, and Catherine recognises that, respecting that particular boundary. Harry's wife would have ensured that she would try to grab the mic, or that she would come over to have to say something, doling out some more beige word salad. Notice how naturally Catherine is with her interactions with people, and you see bits and pieces of her. It's not all about her. She fits in with the event rather than taking over the event, which is the difference. Naturally, Kensington Palace want to show off the fact that she's doing this work in the community, and it wants to present her in a good light. It's PR after all. But the way that she goes about it is far more natural, is far more endearing, is far more effective, because she fits into what's going on, rather than coming along and basically sitting on top of it and saying, "Look at me." I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for watching.